So the goal here is to protect the company. And there's been a big disruptor in terms of protecting data. And that disruptor is the fact that in traditional data protection, we would depend upon network security. We'd have our file shares, our devices, endpoints, all of the different pieces that we're protecting, and they would be bound inside of our network security. That network security kept bad actors from accessing it, inappropriate non-company employees or non-approved people from getting in, and would prevent the egress of data because everything is maintained and can be secured at that network edge. Now we get to that disruptor, and that disruptor is the development and introduction of the cloud infrastructure. With the development of the cloud infrastructure, there is no longer that edge or that boundary that is protecting your data. People are working remote. Data is sitting in the cloud all across the globe. You have virtual workspaces, and all of this leads to that breaking down of that network security boundary into a identity or a data security boundary itself needing to be developed. This adjustment really needs to be developed and developed within a company and utilized to ensure that the companies are keeping up from the concept of people working at any time, from any place, at any given hour of the day, and both for your employees and your vendors at the level that they should be accessing things, and only at the level that they should be accessing and utilizing a data activity at the level they're approved for. So the way to do that is by labeling the data and then attaching things to that label. So moving forward, the new edge is that the only way to secure your data is to do it at the data layer itself. And the most efficient way is to look at the whole rather than single pieces. So you want to ensure that you have a validated endpoint. You verify that the user is coming in, and they do identification of that user. You're doing basically zero trust, or you're verifying the employee, the person that's coming in, and you are verifying that endpoint. And then you are also going to be verifying that the applications have access and are allowed to do what they're trying to do to prevent applications, that third-party corruption we talked about, from getting to your environment, as well as how that data is used. Now, as I mentioned, this is tied to the data itself, and that's the methodology that Microsoft has developed with the Purview suite of products. It covers the data and secures the data even when the data is not on your company network. The integration of the Purview suite with other products that Microsoft has in place that's protecting the Azure environment as a whole, and the capacity to extend these protections outside of the Microsoft environs, that applies a defined and standard set of protections to a company, and that's tied directly to the data. It doesn't matter where the data is, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, who you are, user, non-user, application, vendor, contractor, everything from your access to the data and then what you can do with the data is being defended, and it's being defended directly. So the way that Microsoft leverages Purview to create this data protection model is through the metadata attributes, and that's leveraged on the data itself. And you start with classification. Purview will scan the data automatically, looking for specific conditions or information around the data, where it's stored, what's in it, the information there, and how it's being used with classified trainers. And it will lock down and attach a label to it. It also sets the data retention, so ensuring that only valid, non-stale, usable, and needed data is maintained. And that data lifecycle is set on all the data within your company. In addition to that, Purview will set up information protection and takes those labels and applies them to all of your data. It can be done manually, or it can also be done in an automated policy setup, which is perfect because once that label is put on every little piece of data, now you can link your data policies, even if the data policy is to do nothing with it or control nothing, because it's simply the menu for where we're going out to eat for that lunch for that day. That label is the leverage point to controlling it. And if you have your label applied across all of your data in an automated fashion, you can set your retention policies, and you can actually set your data loss prevention or security policies. And now what you've done is you have, in an automated fashion, on the data itself, ensured that you will only have good data in use and available. You have the data is managed to the level of its risk, and these policies determine who can do what with that data. In turn, you can develop insider risk management within the Purview environment, and that insider risk management sets up actual triggers so that you have an automated response to when people do things, and it becomes a proactive data protection policy. Once that's all completed within Purview, you set up your data connectors, and you can actually take those policies, take that protection that you've developed for your data internally, your data as users share it out, and you can actually extend those data protections to non-Microsoft data, regardless, AWS, and all those other locations that we talked about earlier in terms of where data is today.